Sadler, hand me the aux. Down here in Miami with L.E.X. First video interview. Very excited about this conversation. L.E.X, thanks for joining me, man.
Thanks for having me.
So let's just get started. You got the studio set up in your room. That's pretty dope. So tell me about that. Tell me how that came about.
Man, it was luck. It was luck more than anything. A lot of people won't think about it like that, but I'm 20 now. So when I was 17, I was diagnosed with cancer. All those hardships, that's the story for another day. But through that, Make-A-Wish contacted me, and they set it up and everything. They expected me to, I could have went on a shopping spree, I could have went on a cruise, I could have met a celebrity or something. But they asked me, they try to tailor it to each kid. So they asked me what I would want to do. At the time, I started recording when I was 15. So at the time, that was what we were doing. That was my plan for life. I didn't really think about college. I knew I had to go, but it wasn't my main thing. So they came up to me. They asked me what I would actually want to do. I told them if it's possible, I would like to do that. I wanted them to build a serious studio in my garage, but I was like, you might be asking for too much at this point. So just try to get the equipment and stuff. So they hooked me up with everything, the speakers, the mic, the laptop, the Pro Tools, everything. And it was like, here you go. On top of that, it was really cool to set everything up to get me out of the house on my birthday, which is when they gave me everything. They set up a studio session for me. I forgot what the name of the place was, but it's the studio where Kanye met Ross. It's a serious studio and stuff. So it was a huge studio. It was gorgeous. I had never recorded in anything like that. This is the most we've ever done. I was recording in my boy's room, so it was never nothing like that. They hooked me up with that. The first 2 songs I did were really mixed by a real engineer and all this stuff. They hooked me up with that. It would have been $200 an hour, maybe something like that. So something I wouldn't have even thought about. They hooked me up with that, and I came back and all this stuff was here. It was waiting for me. So they said, "Congrats, we're happy for you. Deal with it. Learn how to work. Learn how to work now." So since then, my boys came in. That was just I thought of what could be the best move for us. To progress. For the future. So instead of getting $500, you blow that. I'm not gonna remember anything I blew that on. So.
Right.
I just thought of what would be the best thing to parlay into more moves. So this was it. Since then, all my boys have been here. We've all been. This is where we do all of our work, everything. Because of this, we've got to do a lot more stuff. We got to do a lot more shows, a lot of other stuff. So it's good. It was a blessing. This was the constant. Thank you, Make-A-Wish all day.
Cool. Yeah. So it'd be very easy to have such a condition as cancer and kind of be down on yourself, but obviously it really impacted you and your ability to make music with the studio. How else have you drawn, how else has your experiences with cancer impacted you in your music at all?
In my music, I'm not sure if it actually impacted the music. I think the one thing it made me realize was when I write raps, I don't necessarily write them as if I talk about my experience or something I went through, I don't just spoon feed it to you. I don't just be like, I did this happen and so I did this and then this. That's too easy. I end up writing a lot of my verses as a lot of it is metaphorical, figurative. So I write like a poet. So I liken it a lot to Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah.
How he had the world of problems going on in his life, but his stories they reflected his mind state, not his actual situation. But they reflected where he was in his mind. So when you learn, you start reading about him, and you learn oh, he was going through this when he wrote this. That's why it's like that. It adds to the art a little bit because it makes it deeper. Instead of me just feeding you oh, this happened to me, this happened to me. It gives it a different dimension. Yeah. That it leaves for the actual listener it's something else for you. It's another Easter egg for you to find. It all relates back to my own life. I think that's about the only thing. It hasn't really impacted my music. It more so impacted just myself. A lot of my own growth and how I deal a lot of family and friends and stuff. But My music, not as much. You know, I always considered myself raw, so never really changed.
Yeah, glad to hear that you're healthy. You know, 3 years strong now, so that's just really good to hear. So you said you've been recording since you were 15. What really got you interested in rapping? When did you write your first rhyme?
Man, I still remember my first freestyle. I was in the 8th grade, and I don't know why we decided to do it that day, but I was just with a friend of mine, and we were talking about it. And I had wanted to get more into it, but I just didn't. And I forgot, how to go? You can call me the Don, but fuck, I'm not Mr. West. This is already a test. Some basic, super basic shit, super basic. I would never spit nothing like that today, but it was super basic. But yeah, I was like 13, 14 when I spit that, and from then, you just start writing. Cause like I had no way of recording or even any inclination of how we could make that move. So it was all writing. It's just pads and stuff, just writing on different beats, writing on a lot of old hip hop beats, you know, learning about a lot of old hip hop stuff. So I did my due diligence as a student of this art, you know. So that's probably why I did it so much. You know, you grow up, rap was always the main thing we listened to. You know, it's always around us so much. So just that influence, that impact that, you know, it had on all of us, it was like, I think I could do that too. So, you know, I decided to do it. And I was too short to play basketball, so I didn't think the NBA was going to happen. No, I didn't think that was going to happen. So.
Okay. Do you have any people within your family who've done music that kind of influenced you to get into it, or are you really the first?
Nah, I grew up in a really musical family. Like my older brother, he sings. My older cousin, he sings. Like we all grew up. We grew up in a religious family. Like my grandma used to have us all in church, so we all grew up singing in the choir. You know, like that was always a thing. Like so, music has always been there. You know, my parents always played every type of music, all types of genre, which is why I think that's why like I'm so diverse as an artist now. But they just played so much stuff, and you know, music has always been there. It's always been like a staple in my life. You know, waking up, being like, you know, having Caribbean parents and stuff, they wake you up Saturday morning blasting music, like, you know, you gotta clean that day, you know, so it's like, it's always been there, it's always been a main thing, so I think that carried over, my love for it just carried over, so.
Okay. So the whole studio thing, you know, performing in the studio, writing in the studio, that's kind of one thing, and you can kind of master that, but, you know, live performing is very, very different.
Yeah.
So what have your experiences been like? Tell us how your first show, what that was like for you.
I think I was 18. I might have still been 17. It's this place called Jazzed. It's this club called Jazzed. I know a lot of friends of mine have performed there. You know, they always have rap acts coming through and all that stuff. It's pretty good. It's a pretty dope place. It was really cool, man. My first show was dope. I had just recorded, like I told you, with these Make-A-Wish people, so the song I was in love with the song, so I really wanted to do it. I was listening to it crazy. Finally got to do the show. I did it with my boy G Lobo, who's a really close friend of mine, so you know, it was beautiful having him there with me. I also had, you know, a bunch of my brothers were in the crowd, you know, it was really cool. It was really easy. I think mostly because coming up, before I got the chance to even record, or before we got the chance to do anything on this side of the music, all we had was rap. That's all we did was freestyle. So me rapping and performing in front of people was one of the first things I had to overcome, because that's all we did. You know, before I like, you have to learn how to think on your feet, but two, you have to feed off their reactions, and you have to adjust. You know, you gotta make adjustments, and you have to feel it. You feel the people. So you know, it was really cool, man. Never seen anybody in that spot. I had never been to that spot before. They were singing my song with me. You know, by the end of it, by the second, third hook, they do it. So you know, they were singing my song with me. It was really crazy, man. It was really dope. It was a really fun experience for me.
The Florida rap scene, you know, people talk about New York, people talk about Atlanta, people talk about Cali, but the Florida rap scene has always been pretty strong. You know, you got people like Trick Daddy, Rick Ross, and you know, more recently you got the late L.E.X, Tentacion, Kodak Black. You know, where do you feel you fit in with the Florida rap scene?
You know, it's weird because like when I look at a lot of people from my city, I don't sound that much like them. It's like, especially if you look back at like old Dade, like Trick Daddy and stuff, like older Ross joints, I don't sound like them, because like, and it's not a good or a bad thing. I'm just, you know, it's just something I noticed. Because, you know, my favorite rapper is Hov, and I drew a lot of influence from East Coast and New York type rap, and just how I approach songwriting is a lot more like them, you know. So it's different. It's weird because we make a very like niche type of music. You know, it's very feel good, very party music. It's not the most focused on lyrics. It's not the most, but that's just being from the South. That's just how it is. But I think that's why like it sets me apart. But it's still dope. You know, it's still dope. Like, cause there's a lot of dudes that focus on just lyrics, or they think like that's the only important thing. It's like, no, I still have to be able to drive to this. You know, I still have to be able to bang this. You know, it's a different. So coming from here, having that influence, and coming from where I come from, it gives me a different type of perspective. Cause it's like, okay, I still want to make rap, but I understand people still have to groove to it to a certain degree. You know, people just want to hear rap over just rap. Like that's not even the most main thing in rap now. You know, it's not the most prevalent thing in rap now. So, right. You know, you gotta learn to walk that line. You have to learn to, at least to be successful in here. Cause I can make music how I want to make it and just make it to enjoy it. But at the end of the day, that won't bring me back profit or anything. That won't give me the monetary part of it, which sadly I have to figure out. So, you know, like, so it gives me a different perspective. It sets me apart from a lot of people from my city. You know, not saying I'm better than them or anything, but it gives it's a different perspective on music.
Yeah. So, you know, a lot of people in music, up and comers, you know, they kind of feel that pressure to work to get, you know, a major label deal, and they kind of get trapped with those major labels. They can't put out the music they want to put out. They can't do features they want to do. They can't do certain things. So, you know, for you, what's the ultimate goal for you? Would you be looking to kind of build independently? Would you be okay working with a major label but having more control? Like, how do you see yourself being happiest when you ultimately get where you want to be?
I've wondered this, because it's like you have to understand certain things about yourself as an artist. So I understand, okay, I may not do the most legwork on the business aspect of things, or, you know, on the corporate side of things, but I do so much on the creative side. So somebody like me probably would benefit from a major label, you know. But then you also have to, you know, you got to look at the things like you can't do what you want. Now you're in a contract with somebody. You're not alone. That's my biggest asset now as an independent artist, is that I don't have to make anything. Like, I don't have to make any. There's nobody telling me, yo, you got to do this. You got to do this. That's the biggest thing, because you really find yourself as an artist. You know, before somebody else comes and tries to taint that and tries to, you know, mold you. You know, I think you really find, and that's what, you know, a lot of people, I think that's why the game is the way it is now, because there's so much independent artists that it's just people being themselves now. You know, it's just so many people that get to be themselves instead of having a label like, yo, you have to be this, you know, it's not as rigid. So I think it all depends on the artist. It all depends on the artist. But myself, I think I would like to do the independent thing, just because I'd like to be able to control my own stuff. You know, I make what I feel like I want to make, and if it's and it'll be good, you know, because I want to make it. It's good because I want to make it. You know, if you tell me that once you turn it into a job, once you turn it into I have to do this, you don't even approach it the same. You know, you don't even think about it the same. You don't hear it the same. It kind of taints. You know, it taints the project for you. So it never comes out as good. You know. So like I think it all depends. You know, it's hard to say.
So when can we expect to hear the freestyle? Do you have a name for the freestyle tapes?
It's called the Doombox Chronicles, the Rhyme Capsule.
Okay.
Yeah.
When can we expect to hear that?
It should be out before the year lets out. I'm gonna end it there. It should be out before the year lets out. But if anything, we're looking at to drop that at the top of the year. But if everything goes how I planned, which life proves that it never happens. But if everything goes the way I plan to, it should be out before the year's up. It should be out before the year.
Okay. And how about Earphone Junkie?
Those are to be determined. I just want to focus on the one. Like, I'm still working on the 3, but the one the Doombox has my main, especially with how I want to roll it out, and you know, it's gonna be really special how I do it.
Right.
You know, that's my main thing. All the other stuff, it comes. You know, it comes more time. You know, you meet people. You know, my brothers come through, we work on stuff, we work on new stuff, so those albums kind of write themselves, you know, like they build themselves just over time, they build up, so I'm not too worried about the 2 after, but the 3 should be out 2019, like all 2019, I'm looking to drop those 3, you know.
Okay, cool. Anything else you want to say to the people before we go?
You can follow me on Twitter at Lex the Devil. You can follow me on Instagram, King_Lex. Just keep a lookout. Upper Echelon. It's my clique. Just keep a lookout. You'll see us soon.
Alright, man. Lex, really appreciate you.
Man,
Good to sit down.
Man. I'm glad I'm the first interview, man.
No doubt.
It's my first one too.
Big for me. Great conversation.
It's
Armon Sadler, L.E.X.
Deuces.